Good afternoon, I'm Lily McInerney, and welcome to the Stony Brook Media Group news show. We have a lot to cover with you today, beginning with the announcement that Major League Baseball is set to return. Major League Baseball is back after 99 days of an owner-imposed lockout. Major League Baseball and the MLB Players Association struck a deal this Thursday after much negotiation. The deal increases minimum salaries as well as a new pre-arbitration bonus pool to reward the top young players. Players will also see a rise in competitive balance tax thresholds and more. The opening date for the MLB is scheduled for April 7th. The 2022 Winter Paralympics officially began on Friday, March 4th. All of Ukraine's para-athletes are inside Beijing's Bird's Nest Stadium. The opening speech by Andrew Parsons, president of the International Paralympic Committee, was a message of peace.
Here in Beijing, Paralympic athletes from 46 different nations will compete with each other, not against each other. Through sport, they will showcase the best of humanity and highlight the values that should underpin a peaceful and inclusive world.
Ukrainian athletes have been dominating the events. Celebration of the wins comes with a bittersweet sense of victory as the Russian invasions continue back at the athletes' homes. Stony Brook University students have come together in support of Ukraine to organize relief drives.
My aunts and their families are all back in Ukraine. My dad has been calling his sister fairly often, about 3 times a day since all of this started. My mother has been in constant contact over messaging apps with her sister, and so we've been talking to them consistently throughout this whole war unfolding.
Hi, my name is Gabby Zanko. I'm president of the Honors College Student Advisory Board. We organize an event today in support of Ukraine, and what we're telling all students is to help in whatever way you can. You can donate money to multiple organizations, and if you don't have the money to donate, you can call your representative, tell them about the Budapest Memorandum where we promised the Ukraine protection of their borders in return for giving up their nuclear weapons, and now they did, and now they're in this horrible situation. Humanitarian aid is being blocked. We're not doing enough to help these people, and every student can do something to show their support.
For anyone who isn't in Ukraine and directly related to the conflict, to learn about what's happening, to speak up and to talk to your government officials to try to have something major change.
The students' donations will go to Romania and then head to Ukraine.
I'm going tomorrow. I leave tomorrow night. I get in Friday afternoon at local time, and I'm there for a whole week. So I hope that I can do my best for the people that need it. That's what I will say.
On to more charitable efforts on campus, Alpha Sigma Alpha is hosting a thrift store event today as part of Wolfie-thon 2022. All proceeds go to the B+ Foundation that provides monetary and emotional support to families of children with cancer as well as childhood cancer research. Several sororities and fraternities on campus are combining their efforts to collaborate and donate to the B+ Foundation. We spoke with Maura Gilmore, who is leading the event today, who created the event with help from fraternity and sorority leaders.
This is a very lucrative event for us because, once again, the clothing are donated, so 100% of the proceeds will go straight to the charity.
Stony Brook Media Group's Maya Brown spoke with Professor Paldy regarding the Russian invasion of Ukraine.
Russia seized Europe's largest nuclear power plant last week in Zaporizhzhia, Ukraine, after a shelling hit the complex and set it on fire. Developing this week, the Chernobyl nuclear power plant, also in Ukraine, has lost all of its electricity. Experts now wonder whether it will cause a radiation leak.
So for the first time since Chernobyl nuclear disaster, after which Ukraine has been protected together with our European and American friends and allies, all the world from another nuclear disaster, we have to defend it again from the Russian forces.
I spoke with Stony Brook University professor Lester Paldy regarding these Russian attacks and what it could mean in terms of nuclear terror.
Can we just talk about your reaction, when you did see the news of the Russian seizure of the Zaporizhzhia nuclear power plant in Ukraine? What were your immediate thoughts when you did see that on the news?
Yeah, well, I think a lot of the alarms are grossly exaggerated. The reactor is much different, a very different design from the reactor that exploded at Chernobyl years ago. It has a concrete containment vessel. It's likely to be pretty impervious to most external attacks. Even an artillery shell probably would find it hard to penetrate that concrete containment vessel. My sense is that the Russians attacked the plant and took it over primarily to control the electricity that is generated by that plant. They can turn off the power to surrounding towns. And many of those reactors may also provide hot water and heat for the surrounding towns. So in the wintertime, that's pretty critical. So having occupied that plant, the Russians now have the ability to turn off the power and turn off the hot water in the area served by the reactor. That's my sense. And that's probably their motivation for doing it.
How likely is it that the damage inflicted would lead to the catastrophic release of radioactivity, and what would that look like?
I think extremely low probability, extremely low, because the most radioactive components are the fuel rods, the spent fuel in particular, but that's protected by the containment vessel, this massive concrete shell that would be sufficient, surely, to withstand anything but an impact by a fully loaded airliner or something like that. Even then, it might only leak a bit. So I think it's extremely unlikely that an attack on a plant would release a catastrophic amount of radioactivity.
Will Western provision of anti-aircraft, of anti-armor weapons to Ukraine be sufficient to stop the Russian advance?
Well, the provision of those anti-tank and anti-aircraft weapons are effective. And I guess we've provided probably thousands of them by now and probably will continue to do that. But the Russians have and that has sorely slowed the Russian advance. The Russians, I'm sure, thought they could take Ukraine in a few days, and it's clearly not working out. They underestimated the resilience of the Ukrainian forces and their willingness to fight for their country. And the provision of American and European advanced weapons is inflicting a heavy toll on Russia so far.
For Stony Brook Media Group, I'm Maya Brown.
Thanks so much to everyone who tuned in. I wanted to take a moment to end today's show to talk about Ukraine. I know we've all read the headlines and understand that we are currently living through a war. It's almost impossible for me to think about the fact that Russian citizens are so cut off from the world due to the censorship of their media. Most don't even understand that Putin is currently in the midst of bombing innocent civilians. I've seen horrifying pictures of the Ukrainian flags draped over caskets, blood running through the streets, and families being separated. It almost doesn't feel real to me. I feel so far removed from what's happening on my own planet. I really wanted to take a moment to mention some places to donate to because that's the most I can personally do right now. I know the people of Ukraine, our fellow brothers and sisters, are all in our hearts. Voices of Children is an organization that provides psychological help to the children of Ukraine. United Help Ukraine donates food and medical supplies to Ukrainians. Revive Soldiers Ukraine donates medical supplies and other supplies to Ukrainian soldiers. UNICEF is also providing donations. That is all for today, and have a great spring break, Seawolves.